All right, welcome back, everyone. Today, we're jumping right into Chapter 22, Part 2, Noah's New World. We're going to step right out of the ark with Noah and his family. I mean, imagine it. The flood has completely wiped the world clean, and humanity has a totally fresh start. But as we're about to see, a new world also means new fears, a new set of rules, and a mystery that, honestly, still captivates people to this day. So let's just think about this for a second. The flood is over. The immediate danger is gone. Humanity is saved. You'd think the first emotion would be pure relief, right? But what the source material tells us is that Noah's first, really powerful emotion wasn't relief at all. It was fear. So what in the world could he possibly be afraid of now, after surviving a catastrophe that ended everything? And, that fear is exactly where our story kicks off. Noah had seen the absolute worst of humanity, and his anxiety leads directly to one of the most iconic symbols in all of human history, the rainbow. So let's explore how this beautiful, natural sight became an everlasting, divine promise. So here's the thing. This is where that anxiety was coming from. Noah knew human nature. I mean, he had a front row seat to its absolute worst. He had pleaded for the flood to wash away all that corruption. But now, standing there on dry land, he was terrified his own descendants would just fall right back into the same old patterns. He feared that the wickedness that caused the flood, that it wasn't really gone for good. And this is the direct answer to that deep-seated fear. God establishes a covenant, a really solid and unbreakable promise. The rainbow, described here as the bow in the cloud, becomes the official sign, the token that the world would never, ever again be destroyed by a flood. It was a message of pure reassurance, aimed right at the heart of Noah's biggest concern. Okay, so this brings up a super interesting question, one that people have debated for ages. Did God literally create the phenomenon of the rainbow at this very moment? Was this a brand new miracle, or was something else going on here? Well, from a scientific point of view, we know exactly how a rainbow works, right? Sunlight shines through water droplets in the air, and each little drop acts like a tiny prism. It bends the light, splits it into a spectrum of colors, and boom, you got a rainbow. It's just basic physics, a constant of nature. So here's the key takeaway. The crucial point the source makes. The rainbow itself probably wasn't new. It was likely a familiar sight. What was new, what was so profound, was its new job, its new meaning. God basically repurposed an existing, beautiful, natural event, one that, often appears right as a storm is ending, and gave it this incredibly powerful new significance. It became a permanent, visible reminder of that promise. All right, so with that incredible promise set in stone, or, in the sky, it was time to lay down some ground rules for this new civilization. To keep history from repeating itself, God gave Noah 5 specific commandments that would act as the foundation for the entire post-flood world. And get this, it was just 5, not some huge, complicated legal document, just 5 core principles. These were designed to be a kind of firewall, to stop humanity from sliding right back into the chaos and the violence that had doomed the world before. So let's take a quick look at what they were. As you can see, they cover a lot of ground, everything from growing the population, to what you can eat, to how we should relate to animals, and then finally, there's a very clear, very stark rule about protecting human life. So let's break these down one by one. First up, be fruitful and multiply. Now, this wasn't just have a lot of kids. The idea was to build large, stable, civilized families to fill up and, beautify the earth. And then, number 2, a huge dietary change. Meat is now officially on the menu. Every moving thing is declared okay to eat, which was a major shift from the diet they likely had before. Okay, so rules 3 and 4 kind of fine-tune this new relationship with animals. There's a really strict ban on consuming blood, a rule that gets repeated many times later on. And fourth, this idea of stewardship. You can't just kill animals wastefully or treat them cruelly. Humans have permission to eat meat, but with that comes responsibility to respect the animal kingdom. And then we get to the 5th rule, and wow, this one is the heaviest. It establishes capital punishment for murder. What's so fascinating here is how it's a direct response to what came before. The source makes it really clear that conspiracy and murder for selfish gain were the big-ticket sins that led to the flood. This rule was a clear, severe line in the sand to prevent that kind of violence from ever taking root again. Okay, so the new world is up and running. But what about the relics of the old world? I mean, specifically, whatever happened to that giant ship that saved them all? And this brings us to our final section, the centuries-long, fascinating search for Noah's Ark. You might think the hunt for Noah's Ark is a modern thing, like something you'd see in a movie, but no way. This search is ancient. As far back as the 3rd century BC, historians were writing about it. You had Berosus the Chaldean, Nicholas of Damascus, the famous historian Josephus. They all recorded stories from their time about people who claimed they'd seen the Ark's remains and were even taking pieces from it. Just listen to this quote from Berosus. He's literally saying that people were chipping off pieces of the bitumen, that's the tar, from the ship to use as amulets, like good luck charms to ward off evil. Whether it's true or not, it just goes to show you that the Ark was already this legendary, physical thing in the ancient world's imagination. Okay, let's flash forward to a more modern, and probably the most famous claim. Right before the Russian Revolution, a pilot named Vladimir Roskovitsky made this sensational claim that he and his crew had found and photographed the Ark. It's an incredible story. But, and this is a huge but, the source is really careful to give us the rest of the story. The very publisher who first printed the account later refused to ever print it again, saying his information was not at all reliable. And that pretty much brings us to where we are today. Despite all the TV shows, documentaries, and expeditions, there's just no definitive, scientifically verified proof of the Ark's remains. It's never been found. For now, the only solid evidence we have about the physical Ark after the flood are those old, enduring written accounts from ancient historians. Which leaves us with a really big question, doesn't it? After all this time, after all this searching, would finding a physical piece of wood actually change anything? Or is the real artifact, the thing that's truly meant to be preserved, the story itself, the account of fear, of promise, and of a brand new beginning? It's a fascinating thought to end on. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.